realize how fake it all is. The football, the basketball, the Lady Gaga, the Justin Bieber, who gives you these carbon tax messages. They tell your kids they got to love Justin Bieber, and then Bieber says, hand in your guns, pass the Cybersecurity Act, and the police state's good, and then your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla.
Lucifer is Jesus in the Bible. Jesus even says it in himself. He says in Revelation 16, the 22:16, the very last book of the Bible is Revelation. And the very last chapter in Revelation is the 22nd chapter. So go to the very last chapter, the very last book, and look up Revelation 22:16. And Jesus said, I, Jesus, I am the offspring of David, and I am Lucifer.
JtaliReacts. I get it, no question.
Yo, what's good, and welcome back to another episode of JtaliReacts, bringing you the highest vibrations on the internet. I got a dope video lined up for you today, all about conspiracy theorists who were proven right. This is volume 1. There's going to be more volumes, obviously. There's so many. I mean, there's just so many, but we got some cool people in here today that were calling things out that are happening today back in the 90s. So other than that, let's jump right into the first clip. Don't forget to subscribe. And here we go.
Let me, right off the bat, say you were telling me about Epstein and this island years ago.
Wow.
You were telling me long before anybody. I think you told me about him before his first arrest.
That's
a long
crazy.
time ago. I talked about how they have these islands, they fly, they compromise children. But I learned all this from Ted Gunderson 20 plus years ago. He was in line to be the FBI director. He was the head of the FBI in Los Angeles. He was a very famous FBI agent. He even ran COINTELPRO against the civil rights movement. He apologized for that before he died in 2011. But he came out, and he was the one that explained to me about how they use these blackmail rings, elements of the CIA, and foreign intelligence groups, and how they would basically make people have sex with children to be part of these clubs and these cults they were setting up.
It's crazy how we've all heard about this for so long. My ex was a Playboy model, and she would come back and tell me all the time, politicians hire the girls. Bill Clinton's hiring girls like every weekend. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But it's all true. And that's why I put this together, because there's so many people who are called conspiracy theorists that have turned out to be right, starting with Alex Jones.
So I knew about all this from Ted Gunderson.
I got Ted Gunderson in here as well.
Let me begin. This is really, I'm telling you, Joe, this is a real deal.
I believe you.
This is, you ask, who are they? It's people who are psychically, genetically available to interface in this incredibly diverse universe with all these dimensions above and below and all around us with consciousnesses.
Think about how he said that. People who could psychically interface with the dimensions above and below. Think about how deep that is. When you feel ghosts around you and stuff, like that's a different dimension, whether above or below. But it goes so much deeper than ghosts.
And the truth is, no energy is ever destroyed. It all continues on.
Yep.
The truth is, our bodies, this is a fact, are a communal hive organism of all of our ancestors and all of their race memories, but not in just some compressed epigenetic system. It's beyond that. It's an electrochemical antenna, they've proven this, that connects to higher and lower dimensions.
Wow. This video is crazy.
There's armies. We're fighting a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy in that they are interdimensionally sucking the essence of our youth.
Right.
And they believe they're possessed by an off-world entity.
They do?
Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's happening?
The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones tend to want to organize because they lust after power. Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them, so they don't tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated.
So that's part of the reason, and this is no joke. Part of the reason I made this channel is to bring the good together. Once my channel's big enough, the message is going to come. We're going to start making moves together. Now, so everybody knows I'm not suicidal, okay? Because once this channel pops off, we're going to make moves. We're going to do group meditations. We're going to do group chants. We are going to change the world. That's my goal with this channel, to raise vibrations and activate. So if you're on a high vibration, go ahead and click that subscribe.
As good as so much stronger.
Proven thought. Provoking thought.
Realize
Provoking
how
thought.
fake it all is. The football, the basketball, the Lady Gaga,
Did a video
the
about
Justin
that.
Bieber,
Football scripted.
who gives you these carbon tax messages. They tell your kids they got to love Justin Bieber, and then Bieber says, hand in your guns, pass the Cybersecurity Act, and the police state's good, and then your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer and explorer. Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind talking about Justin Bieber. Look, when you...
All right, so for those of you who don't know, if any videos are like muted, and it's like, why is this whole section muted? It's because I got hit with a copyright. That video I just played might get copyright infringement because of the song behind it. Usually that's what causes it. I just want you guys to know for future reference, if how would I put this? If a block of the video, it's usually only gonna be like a minute or 2 minutes, but if it's ever muted, that's why. I'm not doing it. It's YouTube that does it. All right, here we go.
But he was the guy who told me about Epstein's Island more than a decade ago, and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island, like it sounds like a plot in a movie. There's an island where they fly famous rich scientists and politicians, and they compromise them with underage girls and get it on film so they could use it against them. I'm like, what? That sounds like horseshit. That sounds like lizard people. It sounds like, 5G creates COVID. Same thing. Yeah. But turns out it was true. And it's one of many things. He was the first one to warn me about a social credit score system. He's like, they're going to try to implement a social credit score system, and your money is going to be tied. They'll have centralized digital currency, and your money will be tied to your social credit score system, and you step out of line, you won't be able to buy things. You won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do anything.
Unfortunately.
They're going to try to keep you within a 15-minute radius of your home, and they're starting to do that in places. Yeah, all of it's real.
Think about it.
The best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's happening?
The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones tend to want to organize because they lust after power.
You got this video already. We're going to skip it.
Don't want to dominate other people. Ladies and gentlemen, I am one of the first prominent people to expose Epstein more than 15 years ago. I've forgotten more about the case than most FBI agents know. It's just a fact. And I can tell you that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are 100% real. Trump's 100% real. They gave them old files a month ago to try to embarrass everybody. And then she raided the New York offices when they wouldn't turn them over. And they ordered the people to resign. who were involved in it. This is incredible. Now, today I had Kyle Seraphin, the top, most prolific FBI whistleblower ever, and he exposed so much. He showed me the messages from the D.C. headquarters. He talked about it on air, but he let me see it all about their secret operations against me. That was a side issue. I didn't care about that today. I said, let's move on from that because we got to bring down the mothership or we're all screwed. And he showed me all the messages, high level, that 14,000 plus terabytes, videos, all of it, the hundreds of previously unidentified child victims. I can't get into all, but there's the DC's investigating what it thinks is key, but it's just giving it to the field offices. Total transparency. They never do that. They're pumping it out across the country to FBI field offices saying, here's the whole file. Any folks volunteer, because they make you volunteer to look at this, and they're just turning them loose. And he showed me the stuff in DC, high level. He showed me people he knows in field offices going, holy shit, they just gave us oh my God. And they've got to go in the secure, area to look at it. They're asking who's going to volunteer to go look at this stuff. This is, because let me tell you something. I can't handle it. So these people are beyond tough that can do this. And Trump's just putting it all out. This is just unbelievable. And today he just cut all the funding to Planned Parenthood and sent in federal orders to shut down all the election fraud. And so I was still worried about it, but just bam. this is awesome. Thank you, God. Thank you, all the listeners that God worked through that we're still at this point. This is so historic. Thank you for your support. Oh my God, Trump is just on warpath. This is total war against the globalists. They wanted to fight. They better believe they got one, but just thank you all for your support. We're on this time live. God bless you all. But Trump's the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. Well, sometimes the baby is deformed. No, they want the organs. And so you saw the Planned Parenthood videos out of Texas and California 2 years ago that Project Veritas and others got, where they're saying, I'm getting a yellow Ferrari. Man, I'm making hundreds of thousands off each baby week. With partial birth, they keep the baby alive. They take it in the back. And then they have a van pull up that takes it to a Chinese government-run facility in the U.S., and they got the sucker.
Let's listen to this.
The video where it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated.
Wow. Here's my thing. Take organ donor off your license. I think it's a scam. Like, let's say you do want to donate your organs. If they're making money off it, your family should get that money. So if everybody took organ donor off their ID today, they couldn't do that anymore. Then they'd start to have to pay the families. They already rip us off enough, but now they're literally ripping us off our organs. Get it?
I know they staged those terror attacks. You know what it's like to gut up to this and go out every day and go past the peer pressure and come out day one and say 9/11 was an inside job and lose most of the radio stations I was on. You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day. You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life. You know what it's like, you sons of bitches. I'm tired of your crap. You commit evil, you're part of an evil system, and we're standing up against you. And the Republic is going to defeat you in the end. Some of us won't make it personally through this, but a lot of us are. And in the end, you are going to be brought to justice.
Alex Jones is a monster, and he was right about a lot of stuff. Not everything, but a lot. Enough that we should be listening to this dude. You know what I'm saying?
We're good. 20 plus million people dead from those shots. Well, truth's come out about you and Fauci.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
How's it feel to kill more people than Hitler?
You're writing some folk songs about it?
You'll never get away with what you did, your bioweapon. You're in a lot of trouble. Nuremberg 2 is coming.
They're crazy, these people. They really are.
Half of Brazil has the brainworm that makes you basically psychotic.
Well, it doesn't make you psychotic.
It makes you risk-taking, crazy.
Yes, it affects your judgment. This is toxoplasmosis.
It programs you to want to have more cats, smell piss.
Yes. Well, it definitely does that to rats. It actually reprograms rats' brains, makes them sexually attracted.
And there's
to
a
smell
bunch of
cat
parasites.
piss. Yes, there's a bunch of them.
And that's where the whole crazy cat lady thing comes from.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's one of the reasons why they tell women when they're pregnant to stay the fuck away from cat litter. Don't touch cat litter. Don't go
Your
anywhere
baby
near
can get
cats. Yes, I mean it can be actually fatal for babies.
And
Told
that's
you not to
science
eat
fiction.
pork.
That's a real brainworm programming you, like you were saying earlier. It's true. I looked. It's true. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That the top soccer teams have the highest level of brainworm infestation.
Well, there's a disproportionate amount of people that live in countries with a high toxoplasmosis infection with successful soccer teams.
Crazy.
20 years ago, they had cows that produced human milk. 20 years ago, they had spiders that produced body armor, spider guts. Okay, they have human-animal hybrids. 30 years ago, they've got giant human tissue farms. You know, you hear, oh, your Achilles is torn. We've got grown in a lab a tendon. It's not a frickin' tendon grown in a lab. It's a frickin' deal humanoid. These aren't humans. The way they get around it is they make them.
Wait a minute.
They make them a few.
We're saying so many things. Listen, I love you to death, but you say
I bet you
so
$10
many
million
different
humanoids
things.
are reals.
I bet you $10 million. He's serious.
It is very clear that when it comes to these smaller gray types, that our government right now distinguishes between those that are biological and those that are AI, and those that are biological and AI cyborgs. And that would explain perhaps.
So I know we just like jumped gears here, but this is Linda Moulton Howe. If you don't know who she is, she was big in the UFO community. She passed away. But a lot of things that she claimed were true turned out to be true. Look at the disclosure now, talking about aliens underwater, talking about they have biological entities. Linda Moulton Howe was one of the first whistleblowers, and everybody said she was crazy.
Why at the beginning in the 40s, when there were these crashes and our government was going out to investigate, that there was a lot of confusion about what they were dealing with. Three competing extraterrestrial civilizations have been using this planet as a laboratory. What I've been told by a Defense Intelligence Agency analyst in December of 1999, and he said, my job was to monitor and analyze the conflicting competition of three extraterrestrial biological civilizations in conflict with each other on and apparently over something about this planet for genetic manipulation for at least 270 million years. And I said, well, 270 million years is before the time of the dinosaurs. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, one of the three competing groups made the dinosaurs as an 80 million plus year long experiment. We think it was the Ebens, the ones with the heads that are shaped like this and pear-shaped chin. He said, the Ebens have demonstrated for us that they can move matter in this universe into another dimension or another timeline.
Is that how they built the pyramids? Is that how these megalithic structures were created? For those of you who don't know, this is Linda Moulton Howe. She was a whistleblower. A lot of people said she was crazy, and now things that she was saying are turning out to be fact. Underwater bases, they have biological entities. The government has now came out and said these things. Forever they said UFOs weren't real. Now they're UAPs and they're real. But I thought I would include her. She's important in the whistleblower community and the conspiracy community. If you don't know who she is, look into her. I only put a few videos for her, but she was the truth.
And they do it all of the time. He said 66 million years ago, something was headed for this planet that was 6 miles in diameter. Was it an asteroid? Were they responsible for it? That took out 95% of surface life on Earth, including all of the dinosaurs. If this was their experiment, they could have moved that 6 mile diameter object into timeline or another dimension, and there never ever would have been any collision. What else can we conclude? But they did an 80 million plus year experiment. And then is this the way they ended it? By taking out 95% of all Earth surface life.
And if that's true, how will they end us?
We know a lot about what is 2 miles and 3 miles down. It isn't being shared with the public, but our government and probably other governments know quite a bit.
In the final years of her life, veteran investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe made the decision to release classified files gathered during her long investigation into Antarctica. They pointed to something that had existed there long before humanity emerged, something that now appeared to be awakening, triggering anomalous ice melt phenomena documented by both scientific data and military witnesses alike. What secret is Antarctica concealing beneath its eternal ice? Follow Linda as she traces the clues toward a truth that could reshape humanity's understanding of its own history. Inside the octagonal chamber, for decades, Antarctica has existed in the scientific imagination as a frozen tomb, a place where time appears suspended and life survives only in its most primitive forms.
With Antarctica, I believe in hollow earth, right? I think there's maybe another world inside. I don't know if I buy the ice wall thing, but it's possible. Anything's possible. But I will say this. What she was saying about the 3 race of alien, it correlates with something my dad told me. My dad knew a colonel in the military, retired. Very famous colonel. I'm not going to say his name, but he told my dad one day when he was drunk, he said, "We got the gray aliens, the little ones. Russia got the tall ones." And he said, "These little ones are vicious. They would rather suck your blood through your eyes," or something like that. "Suck your soul out of your eyes," he said, "and then be your friend." It makes sense if these elites are really doing soul manipulation and using our fear and feeding off our fear. It would make sense because it would correlate with that. But my dad also told me that Colonel talked about Admiral Byrd. And this is like, my dad told me this in like 93. And he was like, "Yeah, there was a guy and he flew over Antarctica and there was a big hole." Just the Admiral Byrd story. And I didn't know who it was, but I heard about it when I was an adult. And I was like, oh, damn. My dad told me the same story. I really didn't take it seriously. But I thought it was important to share this because everybody has stories, right? And now these stories are coming out. And now there's proof behind these stories and it's okay to talk about. Have you ever heard anything like this? Do you know any retired military? Did your father? If so, drop it in the comments.
That silence was shattered by the final disclosures of investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe, who chose to release data gathered from senior military witnesses. These were individuals who had directly entered anomalous zones on the continent. Her message was not intended as a tale of adventure or exploration. It was a warning about a physical reality unfolding beneath the ice. A reality fundamentally at odds with the climate models the world continues to monitor. At the center of these revelations stands the detailed testimony of a figure identified as Spartan 1.
So they're basically saying when the ice melts, it's about to go down.
A former United States Navy Special Operations member who took part in a mission in East Antarctica in 2003. The team was initially tasked with reconnoitering an area detected through ground-penetrating radar. What they encountered, however, was not a natural geological formation. It was a colossal artificial structure that appeared to defy modern principles of construction.
And you could see this on Google Earth. And another crazy story is like back in 2013, I was looking on Google Earth and I could see the hole. And I posted it on Facebook and I can't find that post. I don't know if they took it down or what. And I remember my friends being like, he must be high, and nobody believed me, and it was a big hole on Google Earth, and now it's like mainstream news. It's crazy.
And thermodynamics. Spartan 1 described the infiltration of an underground space buried beneath miles of ice, where compressive pressure would be sufficient to crush any reinforced concrete structure built by humans. Yet, what stood before them was a perfect octagonal chamber, spanning an estimated area of roughly 9 acres. The first shock was not its size, but the material of its glossy black walls. They resembled basalt in appearance, yet exhibited physical properties unknown to any substance cataloged within the periodic table. While temperatures outside the ice remained lethally cold at -40 degrees Celsius. The interior of the octagonal structure was inexplicably stable at 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. This immense thermal contrast did not originate from any visible heating system, warm air ducts, or climate control devices. Instead, the black walls themselves functioned as the heat source. Spartan 1, Tortori, Sparentawit, noted that the material appeared capable of absorbing or generating thermal energy and radiating it evenly into the surrounding space. In doing so, it maintained a mild microclimate, entirely indifferent to the brutal polar environment beyond. The anomalies intensified as the team advanced deeper inside.
I mean, all this makes sense. Why did Hitler have so much interest in Antarctica, right? Why does Trump want Greenland? I'm sure it has something to do with something below the surface, right? It's not I mean, yeah, it might be a military advantage, but at the same time, there's something they're not telling us.
Illumination within the vast chamber did not come from lamps or localized fixtures. It emanated directly from the walls and ceiling in the form of a soft lime green glow. More striking still, the light intensity was not constant. It appeared to respond directly to the presence of living beings. As the soldiers moved, the light in their immediate vicinity brightened, then dimmed once they passed. This behavior suggested that
Like
the
Star
entire
Trek.
structure functioned as a massive biological interface in a dormant state, capable of sensing and responding to biological intrusions. Across the glowing surfaces of the walls, Spartan 1 reported the presence of intricate symbols and patterns. Specialists accompanying the unit confirmed that these were not decorative motifs or conventional pictographic scripts like those found at Egyptian or Maya archaeological sites. The symbols were recessed into the hard surface at a perfectly uniform depth of 7 centimeters. The interior of each engraved channel was flawlessly smooth, bearing no trace of carving, abrasion, or mechanical force. Precision at this level could only be achieved through direct manipulation of matter at the molecular scale. Comparable in principle to lithographic processes used in modern electronic circuitry, but executed on a monumental scale. The atmosphere within the octagonal chamber carried an unusually high static charge, causing hair and fine body hairs on the team members to stand on end. Accompanying this was a persistent low-frequency hum, a background vibration with no identifiable source. It acted directly on the nervous system, inducing nausea.
So I'm guessing that's all the info that Linda let out right there. But it makes sense because I always wonder, like, why are they ordering our military to shoot down UFOs? Like, that's so unintelligent. Unless they already know what these are and they already know if they're a threat or not, right? They're not afraid of them because they know their intentions. That's the only thing that makes sense, because why else would you just go shoot down a UFO when it could be a benevolent being? But they don't care.
I have received valuable insights from 2 different government agency men. I asked Sherman if he had personally seen non-human technology. He said he had held an Eben device called the Yellow Book. Words on its screen glow yellow, and 3-dimensional images can rise up like the Princess Leia hologram communicator in Star Wars. Sherman said those 3-dimensional images in the Yellow Book come from the Eben's ability to, quote, capture time and play it back, close quote. I'm talking about literally capturing time and playing it back. The Ebens, he said, access and manipulate time streams and even have most of Earth's planetary evolution preserved in a yellow book technology.
Don't let our government get that.
Look what's happened in the last 23 years. A disgrace. I personally...
Pause real quick. This is Ted Gunderson. This is who Alex Jones said he was getting his information from. I've never seen his videos, so I don't really know what's in store for us, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
Investigated the Oklahoma City bombing case. Huge cover-up. Jack Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. Bobby Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. World Trade Center, huge cover-up. Okay. Terrorism. They're using it as an excuse to take away our constitutional rights and our civil liberties.
This is the 20 years ago at least. And he was right. I think he was an FBI
The
agent.
Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, globalists are the element behind this. It dovetails into the satanic movement, and this movement has infiltrated into our intelligence community, the once great FBI and the CIA.
In our entertainment industry, our sports.
Do you remember they used to put the kids' pictures on the milk cartons, and they took them off? I contend, I don't know, I can't tell you why, I contend too many kids were being located through those milk cartons. Your federal government doesn't want you to find these kids, because your federal government, particularly the finders, the CIA organization out of Washington, D.C., is the biggest motivating factor behind the missing children in this country today. Why?
Damn.
Well, there's several reasons. Kids are used for body parts.
I need to find that full clip.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails,
Damn, he was ahead of
being
all of
dropped
that.
and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide.
You know, it really irritates me because it's like, who the fuck gives these people the right? And I'm sorry to swear like that, but who gives these people the right to destroy our planet like that? To destroy our wildlife? And even worse, to kill us, to destroy our water supply. Why are we not more upset? Are we not going to come together until it's too late? People, wake up. Let's come together. Let's make a plan.
This is poison. This is murder by the United Nations.
Damn.
This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I happen to know of 2 of the locations where the airplanes are that dump this crap on us. 4 of the planes are out of the Air National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the other planes are out of Fort Still, Oklahoma. I personally have observed the planes that were standing still in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, at the Air National Guard. They have no markings on them. They're huge, bomber-like airplanes with no markings. This is a crime. Crime against humanity, crime against America, crime against the citizens of this great country. They must be stopped. What is wrong with Congress? This has an effect on their population and their people and their friends and their relatives and themselves. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the pilots who are flying these airplanes? They're dumping this crap, this poison, on their own families. Somebody has to do something about it. Somebody in Congress has to step forward and stop it now. Thank you. I'm Ted Gunderson.
We We really need to come together, people.
Some people think that guys like Martin Luther King were compromised by the CIA. Do you ever believe stuff like that?
We are talking about the FBI and the CIA. So what do you think they do? So maybe we're unclear about what we think these agencies do. So now the question becomes, hey, do you think they be doing their job? I do. I do think they be doing their job. You mean all through history? Yes. Yes, I think they keep on doing their job. You think they get everybody? I think they get everybody.
Damn. I thought it was important to include Katt because his whole life's mission now is to expose all these people in these 3-letter agencies, right? That was my Katt impression.
Okay, have you seen this interview with Mel Gibson from 1998? And people called him crazy. In fact, they portrayed him as a raving lunatic. He was canceled before canceling became a thing. No studio wanted to work with him.
He stays canceled.
So, what do you think he meant by this?
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s. Right. The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand. Right. And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me. They don't. And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that.
What's he mean?
And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you were exactly on track.
The question is, what did he mean by that? Crazy town, weird stuff going on, but that was Hollywood. Now, many people have came out and said, Hollywood is wholly weird. I think what's weird is that listen to this. Hollywood is in reference to the holly tree, many people think. The holly tree was used in ancient Rome that was believed to have magical powers. And they used the branches from a holly tree to make wands. Okay, I'm talking Harry Potter. So the holly tree is considered magical. And then they call Hollywood, Hollywood. Despite there being no holly trees, to my understanding, I don't think there's many holly trees in Hollywood. But you could grow anything in California because you guys got that sunshine. But anyways, is Hollywood being used for magical purposes today? Magical in the way you may not think. Like magical as in programming your mind, altering your perception with conditioning and programming. Hello? And why is it we've seen so many people like not Taylor Swift, she too, but the girl Hannah Montana went from this innocent girl, haha, funny, happy show to like the Miley Cyrus we know who does...
I mean, they're all like that, all right? Ariana Grande, Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, the list goes on.
All kinds of crazy stuff on stage now, which grew up with millions of women,
Lady Gaga,
young girls watching
Katy
her.
Perry.
And then she turns into that. Like, that's mass programming for sure, conditioning, etc. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What the Sam Damn's going on? And follow for more.
And let me know your thoughts in the comment below. Have you lived in Hollywood? I have. Let me know if you experienced anything unusual. Anything Twilight Zone-y.
Why do you think we exist?
We believe that this is
Matrix. This Matrix bullshit my wife believes. Wife saying the same shit this nigga said.
and well done. It's the reason that everything fits together. Like, it would be enough if there was
Do you believe in other lives? You lived other lives?
I know that the whatever is in our body whatever that weighs, I know that when it leaves here, it still weighs that in the universe. So it's somewhere.
It came to you from somebody.
Yes.
Wow, right? It came to you from somebody when it leaves you, it's going to go someone else.
Yeah. It's the reason that when you're young, there's a lot of things that you learn that nobody taught you at all.
Yeah.
You just...
This whole world is just one big school.
Right.
Yo, on that note, I gotta say something. Like, kids know things, right? I remember being in kindergarten, maybe even it was preschool. It was like a little scholar. You guys have those where you're from? It was like a daycare. And I looked at my friend and I saw a plane doing a chemtrail. And I was like, why are they releasing those chemicals? And he was like, nah, that he was my black friend. But he was like, nah, bros, and we grew up together. But he was like, nah, bros, that's that plane is breaking the sound barrier. So like that was a big lie that everybody thought was right? But kids know things. It's weird.
Big school. And when we die, we're not going to know as much as we died, but even as much as we lived. You know, we don't know anything. Only thing we know is what they told us in those books.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or whatever it is.
That's how you know that there's truth in the history, though, because we're now in a place now in history where we're able to know more about the universe than ever. Like, we've been to places now. You know what I mean? We've been to all these planets and we've had these experiences unlike anybody else in history. But the problem is that whatever they said about the planets 6,000 years ago,
bullshit.
No, it was all true. And we are just now finding out. So the question is, how the fuck did they know?
Oh, shit.
Why did they say Mars was the red planet before they got there and explained to us that that's what it was like and what the environment was? How did they know about the rings on that planet? And why were they correct about it? And if they're that correct, what were... I'm saying...
Like I said, who are we? Who's our ancestors? When it first started, how did my ancestor look? My millionth ancestor. Wow, I can't even say a million ain't nothing. A million years ain't shit compared to time. Trillion, who's my trillion? Ooh, life is a bitch, huh?
Right.
There's no time. We made time, but it's really eternity.
That's what you were saying when you said the 365 days. So before somebody called it that, then how old were you? Like, how were you measuring?
Before Julius Caesar said, hey, motherfucker, this is going to be 1 year because I can't take this shit. So it's no such thing as time. It's eternity, and we turned it into time.
That's deep.
I thought when I was real young, I thought if you was a great, great man, you generally died around 25 or 26. Oh, so I had planned my life according to that. And I got into this thing about 6 or 7 years old where I was like, yeah, every 7 years, that's almost like a new you. And so I've kept that model going my entire life. So, I've lived 7 whole existences that were separate from the one before it, taking what it takes from it, but
That's amazing right there, you know. You could just fuck my whole head up right there with all that shit, man.
You know, when you do die young, it's the way it is.
If you haven't already got a copy of my new book, Cheat Codes to the Simulated Life, an epic guide to metaphysics and manifestation, you can get that on Amazon today. I also released a manifestation journal. It's a 90-day transformative guide that will help you manifest your dreams within 90 days. Believe me, it works. It gives you games and exercises and whatnot. You journal. It just shows you how to put your thoughts in order to manifest exactly what it is you want. So you can grab that on Amazon. It's called the Epic Manifestation Journal, a 90-day transformative guide by your boy, JTali. Let's jump right back into the clips.
Epstein is Pizzagate. Let that sink in for a minute. Jeffrey Epstein is Pizzagate. 10 years ago, Pizzagate was by far the #1 trending topic on Twitter. But the claim of pedophile elites who preyed on children was so insane that Pizzagate was shrugged off as a wild fever dream of a conspiracy theory. I was the first mainstream reporter to dare give the facts surrounding Pizzagate. My corporate career was destroyed over it, so what? My professional reputation was obliterated, that wasn't fun. And I wasn't the only one. Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist. Tonight, I want to remind you of what I told you then and compare that to what we have now learned.
Pizzagate. It became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a DC area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate?
Well, the story that came to be known as Pizzagate did not begin with a rumor, nor was it created by Macedonian sheep farmers as CNN actually once claimed. It began with WikiLeaks, authentic, verified emails taken from the phone of the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, John Podesta. Those emails were real. In all these years, by the way, no one has actually disputed that. Inside those emails were communications that struck a lot of people, not just on.
I'm pretty sure it was Podesta that they said, if you read the emails, you're committing a crime and you're going to go to jail. That's how crazy our government is. The fuck?
Online commentators, but researchers and former law enforcement as unusual to say the least. References to pizza and to pizza handkerchiefs and to maps, to private gatherings involving powerful people. Some very bizarre stuff. In fact, the first people to draw attention to those emails were a group of self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who claimed that Podesta was using the same terminology that they use to speak in coded language. And in researching those emails, I found a 2010 entry into Urban Dictionary. It's still there, by the way. It confirms that cheese pizza is a commonly coded term for child pornography, CP.
I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was called a dangerous conspiracy theorist and a madman for claiming that pedophiles and possibly even pedophile elites might use coded language, even though it was online pedophiles who said that's exactly what they do. Which brings us back to this new Epstein release, because in it, the word pizza is mentioned 911 times. That's right, 911 times adults are emailing back and forth about slices of pizza and about pizza parties.
And the sick part is, that's not even as crazy as it gets. I just saw a video. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to find it before we're done. But in the Epstein files, they're talking about beef jerky. And I'm sure you can imagine what it is. It's horrible. They were making their own beef jerky. Let that sink in.
And the word pizza is often paired with grape soda in bizarre contexts within emails addressed to Epstein by individuals whose names have been mostly redacted. So here's one. Quote, "This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand." Or this one, "Mr. Epstein would like to see the menu from the pizza place. Could someone send it, please?" Or this one from 2014, "Sit down, because I know you won't believe this. Are you sitting? Jeffrey says he wants to go out to a pizza place with you. He did not mention a particular pizza place, but he knows you are in the know on this," with a little winking emoji. All of the emails that I just shared with you were from 2014, right about the same time period of the John Podesta emails that WikiLeaks published and started the entire Pizzagate saga.
Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Podesta brothers, again, there was no direct evidence of them being involved in child sex trafficking from those emails. But as we pointed out at the time, there was a lot of bizarre communication, including an email from John Podesta to his brother Tony. The subject line, "Last night was fun," and the first line reads, "Still in torture chamber." That email got really no attention 10 years ago, but today, a 2009 email from Jeffrey Epstein is getting a lot of attention, as it asks, "Where are you? You okay? I love the torture video."
To the fallout from the latest release of the Jeffrey Epstein documents, they include communications between the rich and powerful, from the co-owner of an NFL team to billionaires like Elon Musk.
CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files.
Friday's release of millions of pages related to Jeffrey Epstein provided a closer look at his connection to world elites from Hollywood to Washington, Wall Street to Buckingham Palace and beyond.
Yeah, well, all those so-called news anchors and their newsrooms for a decade blacklisted this topic. They conditioned you to live in ignorance. They called it a conspiracy. They called me and so many others dangerous for even looking.
For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
Well, 10 years later, no investigation ever took place. It's a failure of a complicit government and also of a corporate media that didn't just ignore this evil. They helped to cover it up and keep it operating in the shadows. See, by refusing to engage honestly in 2016, by choosing mockery over investigation, by silencing questions instead of asking them, they created the very environment where this evil could thrive. See, they didn't kill bad information as they pretended. They guaranteed it would survive. See, I wasn't censored the way that I was because my reporting was false. I was censored because it was dangerous. Dangerous to narratives, dangerous to reputations, dangerous to a media culture that had grown comfortable acting as a gatekeeper rather than a watchdog. See, the unspoken rule was simple. Some questions are not allowed. Not because they're wrong, no, but because they lead to the truth. And the truth? Pizzagate. At least in the form of a cabal of elites and powerful people who delight in the physical and sexual abuse of children, is real. Remember how we started. Epstein is Pizzagate. But the other reality it's time to accept, Pizzagate is much more and much bigger than just Jeffrey Epstein.
And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the content today. It's a really dope video. We got to see a lot of people who were way ahead of their times, right? Do me a favor and share this video with somebody who may be interested in the content that may not have seen it before. It's important that we share this information and get it out there. We got to build a base and we really got to come together. And that's what I'm trying to do with this channel. Let's get 1 million subscribers. Let's all come together once we hit 1 million subscribers and come up with the game plan. That's my goal here. I'm JTali. This is JtaliReacts. And we out.
Jtali. Come manifest. Want it, I see it, I got it, I get it, no question. I'm manifest. Jtali. I'm manifest. Want it, I see it, I got it, I get it, no question.
Yo, what's good? And welcome back to another episode of JtaliReacts, bringing you the highest vibrations on the internet. I got a dope video lined up for you today, all about conspiracy theorists who were proven right. This is volume 1. There's going to be more volumes, obviously. There's so many. I mean, there's just so many. But we got some cool people in here today that were calling things out that are happening today back in the 90s. So other than that, let's jump right to the first clip. Don't forget to subscribe. And here we go. Scary.
I think maybe they're actually going to be an extraterrestrial intervention into our civilization, and we might be seeing things from another world that are legitimately real. So and these are all the things which were prophesied in the Bible. They're prophesied in the ancient Hopi prophecies, in the Mayans, the Incas, all of the ancient peoples have prophesied that the gods would come back. They're coming back. Well, what are you talking about coming back? Every 3,600 years, Nibiru comes through, a planet comes through, in which we are told by the Sumerians, those people from Nibiru who have come from another planet and another world look like us.
Is that why, remember how Katt was saying about time isn't real? Well, actually, Tyson was saying it, and he had a good point. But is that why they've switched time on us? They've changed calendars? Have you seen the theory to where everything with a 1 in front of it is really an I? And we're not really in the year we're in? Is that why? So we can't date when the gods will come back? That could be it, right? And is that why everyone's tripping right now? Because they know time is up and the gods, quote unquote, are coming back? Guess we're going to find out.
And they created or recreated us, and they're coming back. And they're not very happy with the alien life forms who are here, who have been manipulating us and using us. It's like one gang coming in and finding out another gang has set up shop here. And they say, hey, wait a minute. Just because we went down to the store, that don't mean you come in here and take over. Well, we're already here. What are you going to do about it? Well, we'll show you what we're going to do about it. And now all of a sudden, the people in the neighborhood, they better get out of here because there's going to be a war. And it's not because they're trying to protect you. It's ownership. Somebody came here and created us, and they're coming back, and they're going to find out others are here, and they're taking over our planet. This is why the powers that be in America are so dead strong and so locked in on what they're going to do, is because they have no alternative. The people who are actually running this government from behind the scenes, we call it the world government or the Illuminati or the secret societies. No, I think the people who are running this thing from behind the scenes are not even human. And what they got planned, according to their own agenda for ownership of us, is going to be one hell of a war. And at this point, I would conclude by saying, I believe the only hope that we have as individual humans, I am totally convinced, because of too much has proven this to me, that over and above this scenario, if it has any validity at all, over and above this scenario, bad as it is, there is above the scenario a higher power in the universe that men have called, for a lack of a better term, God. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that there is a higher power in the universe that watches these skirmishes between races in its great creation. And I would suggest that all of us, the way to protect yourself is the way the scriptures said to do it, and the way that the New Testament admonishes to do it, and that is to verbally, by yourself, when no one is around, audibly talk to the Spirit as if the Spirit were a very highly intelligent, powerful man or woman that you were talking to. If you were talking to a very powerful dignitary, you would not jumble your words. You would be very specific in what you want to say. Have the highest of respect for that one that you're speaking before. And once you have said your piece before the king and before that high official, then drop it. That's it. You've said your piece. He has heard it. It's over.
what's crazy about that is I do a lot of metaphysics, I do a lot of manifestation videos, and I'm working on one right now that compares manifestation with every religion. It's going to be the next video, so if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're alerted. But something that was crazy is every religion, when it comes to manifestation, said what he just said. It said, speak to the Creator, tell him what it is you want, and let it go. Forget it. Just have faith. That's what faith is, right? Have faith, it will happen, and it will happen. But a lot of us beg and plead. I'm guilty of it. But we got to just ask and receive. Ask and forget about it. Let it go. Put it out of your mind and have faith. It will come. You can do it.
Now, he will do whatever he decides to do in your behalf, but it's over. You don't need to explain anything more or whine about it. And so I think that this is the most powerful thing that an individual can do, is talk to the Creator, the divine spirit in the universe, ask for direction, ask, what am I supposed to know? What am I supposed to do? How can I protect myself and my loved ones? Show me what I am to know. Show me what I am to do. And I will listen. I will do whatever it is. So consequently, I believe that the smart thing, if you're concerned about your spirituality and your life, is to quietly talk to God or talk to the universal God force, because believe me, it's there and it hears you, and ask, what am I to do? What am I to know? Show me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I have to do, and I'm going to do it. Then leave it alone and watch the way the Spirit works. Things will begin to happen around you. And all of a sudden, things will begin to pop up in front of you. You'll be asking a question and it will come on television. You'll open up a magazine and there it is, the answer right in front of you. And you think that's by chance? No, you asked God for direction, didn't you?
Just follow direction. If you haven't already got a copy of my new book, Cheat Codes to the Simulated Life, an epic guide to metaphysics and manifestation, you can get that on Amazon today. I also released a manifestation journal. It's a 90-day transformative guide that will help you manifest your dreams within 90 days. Believe me, it works. It gives you games and exercises and whatnot. You journal. It just shows you how to put your thoughts in order to manifest exactly what it is you want. So you can grab that on Amazon. It's called the Epic Manifestation Journal, a 90-day transformative guide by your boy, JTali. Let's jump right back into the clips.
We are told by Christianity that we're not to have anything to do with astrology because that is evil and of the devil. Until we begin to look at the Old Testament in the language that it was written in. And we're going to find that the Old Testament, like the New Testament, is nothing more than the entire story of the zodiac. The Hebrews, when they were in Egypt, were of course subject to the religion of Egypt. And at that time, Isis, the female personification of wisdom, from whence of course we get Mary in the Catholic Church, the Mother of God. Later on, with the coming of Pharaoh Akhenaten, or Akhenaten, Pharaoh Akhenaten changed the worship in Egypt from Isis to Amun-Ra, or Amun-Ra. So Amun-Ra became the chief deity of Egypt. Now, once the Hebrews left out of Egypt and went north into Palestine.
For those of you who don't know, Amun-Ra. That's why we say Amen. Amen. Amun-Ra. We're still worshiping a sun deity. Just thought you'd like to know.
They found a new god there of the Canaanites, a god that is referred to as the Ugaritic god. That god was El, or the planet Saturn. The Hebrews then picked up the worship of the planet Saturn, or El, the Ugaritic god, and combining the Isis worship with the Amun-Ra worship, and lastly with the El Saturn or the god El, they formulate their new land based on the three concepts of God: Isis, Re, El, or Israel, Israel.
I didn't know that. Damn. He broke it down. What's crazy to me is how they made ISIS this demonic terrorist organization, which it very well may be, but it's named after a god. Like, that's so crazy when you think about it. That's like us having a terror organization called Jesus Christ, the Jesus Christians. No, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the more you know.
You don't own land. Nobody owns anything. But if you want to own the land and actually own it so that even God can't touch it, you have to buy the property or the car or the jet plane, whatever it is you're buying. You have to get it under allodial title. A-L-L-O-D-I-A-L. Allodial. Allodial title. You can buy a car, you can buy a jet plane, you can buy a house, but you buy it under what is called allodial title. And I've seen that done because I had a guy buy me a car not too long ago, and we went into the agency and he says, I want to buy him a car. And so the guy said, okay. And so I picked out the car I wanted, and the guy buying it for me said, we want this allodial title. I knew about allodial. Now I just want to see what they're going to say. And he said, we want this car allodial title. And the sales manager said, fine, okay, we'll have to go back and go get the paperwork. He went back and got the special paperwork, came out and says allodial title. Allodial simply means nobody, including God or Jesus, can touch this property. You own it, the land as well. If you buy a house or buy your property, you can put it in a allodial title. That means if the freeway is coming through and they want your property, they cannot touch it.
The truth is hidden in plain sight, and this is how they hide everything. If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us, if you want to know the meaning behind these symbols, if you want to know who controls the world, this ebook will literally unveil that to you, and ye shall know the truth, and truth shall set you free.
I wonder if that's like some sovereign citizen stuff right there. And is that even real? If you're a sovereign citizen, throw it in the comments. Just write, I'm sovereign.
Lucifer is Jesus in the Bible. Jesus even says it in himself. He says in Revelation 16, the 22:16, the very last book of the Bible is Revelation. And the very last chapter in Revelation is the 22nd chapter. So go to the very last chapter, the very last book, and look up Revelation 22:16. And Jesus said, I, Jesus, I am the offspring of David, and I am Lucifer.
So the Christians are also worshiping the opposite than what they believe, what they think they're doing.
They're worshiping Lucifer.
The same that you said that the Jews are doing.
Yeah, exactly, and the Muslims too. The whole world
is worshiping what? Something satanic?
Yeah, that's what I think. And I think that when I say satanic, I think the whole world and all the worship is going on throughout the world is being led. We are all humans, and we're being led into this by higher powers in the universe.
Left my church because they didn't answer many questions that I was asking, and they were trying to dogmatize Christianity. Explain that. Many of the things we were taught have now been proven to be wrong, because Christianity is based on the interpretation of our parents and our parents' pastors, and as more scholarship is poured on Christianity and more truth emerges, we realize that, wow, there's a problem here. I'll give you the example. Very quickly, I studied scripture in original languages. The moment you start studying scripture in original languages, you start realizing that the English Bible has too many errors. I'll give you one, the word Lucifer. Lucifer is a Latin word. Before we had the English Bible, the only Bible the world had was the Latin Bible. Let's remember the New Testament was originally written in Greek, then translated to Latin. Then it was Latin for 1,200 years, and then translated to English. It's only been English.
Yeah, but what does Lucifer mean?
In Latin,
devil.
it means no. In Latin, if you read, do me this favor, Read 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 19 in Latin. It was referencing Christ with the word Lucifer. Don't take my word for it.
Are you saying Christ was referred to as Lucifer?
In the Latin Bible, and from the Greek Bible used the word phosphoros, which means light bringer. Translated to Latin in the Latin Bible, the word Lucifer. The word Lucifer was used to reference Christ for 1,200 years. There were not many Bibles then. It was just the Latin Bible. Starting with King James. If you read the original Latin Bible, the word Lucifer was used 4 times. Twice in the book of Job, once in Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12, and once in the New Testament. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 12. Yes, only once. They took out of the 4 instances, they retained only one. And that's Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12. Oh, how you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, which we now know today was not even talking about the devil, was clearly referencing the king of Babylon.
There are so many variations of the Bible, over 30,000 global variations, and so many verses in all of these variations. We can debate it from now to...
The problem is, they all came from the Latin Bible. The first authorized English translation in 1611, if I'm correct, was the King James Bible. So they all came after the King James Bible. But I'm saying there was only one authorized Vulgate, that's the Biblia Sacra Vulgata, translated by Jerome in the early 400s.
That's crazy.
I talked to him 2 days before he died. I talked to him every day. I'm the one who, because I had got out on bail, so Gary came to visit me in Compton, in L.A., to get some discovery from me. When the CIA dude came, I remember giving Gary all the information, so Gary wanted to get who me and Rick was, so I'm telling him this whole story. But while I'm telling this story, the newspaper article came out, not the book yet. So he was like, and I'm like, man, you're not scared for your life? You're not scared? He's like, Chico, I'm not scared, but you know, I understand. I'm like, man, because people have knocked at my door before that. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like, you know, once the article came out, it was a 3-page article about what happened. No, LA Times wouldn't do it. And the San Jose Mercury News. Okay. It was a 4-page article. It shows everything. He was right on point. But the LA Times come out a week later with the same kind of 4-page article saying that this didn't happen. So they discredit Gary. So you talking about that?
So if you've seen the show Snowfall, that's what he's discussing. The guy who broke that story, I think he was an FBI or CIA agent, but he broke that story. We're going to get into him next.
LA, you're talking about LA Times, Washington Post, Washington Times, New York Times, and the Washington Post discredited him. So now he looking like an idiot. Like his editor, they fired him. Now they discredit this whole story like he made it up.
So that's pressure from the CIA.
Pressure from the CIA, so they end up letting him go, man. Like I'm talking to this man every day. And he's like, Chico, there's people on my back pole. I don't know who they are. They've been here for 3-4 days. Like, damn, man, be careful. So 3 days later, I get a call from my daddy. Did you see what happened to Gary? He shot himself twice in the head. The man told me, Chico, I'm never going to kill myself. I'm never going to do that. I talk to this man all the time.
Wow.
I know his whole lifestyle. I know his wife, his kids, and everything.
Yeah.
So Gary Cooper released evidence that the CIA was behind and responsible for the crack epidemic in LA. And I'm sure other cities too. Like how twisted, right?
So he received a lot of pressure from different situations. I was on the show with Gary Webb on
Gary Webb,
Gerardo, Montel Williams, and some other show, because when I had got out, I was only out for like 3 or 4 months, but I was doing all these shows with him. Like Gary, they wanted me to do the show. Like Gerardo came on there, like, this is the person responsible for the whole crack epidemic. Him and Freeway Rick, you know, pointed at me. At first, they had a baby come across the stage that this lady sold her baby for crack. They said the person responsible for it is right there, Chico Brown, and his crying me Freeway Rick is in prison for that. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm asking Gary to answer the question. My lawyer ended up asking the question, but Gary was like, Gary knew he had it right.
Damn.
In 1996, journalist Gary Webb started pulling on a thread no one else wanted to touch. He wasn't chasing headlines, he was chasing names. And 2 kept showing up, Nora Medicis and Danilo Blandon. What did they have in common? They are both from Nicaragua, both connected to the Contras, and both deeply involved in something spreading across US cities like wildfire. It wasn't just drug trafficking, it was industrial-scale movement of something new. And they weren't hiding it. They operated in the open, even while under investigation. How? Who was protecting them? And why? That something was a smokable, fast-acting, cheap form of cocaine. It was addictive and devastating. What was it? Crack. And it wasn't trickling into cities. It was flooding them. Especially in Los Angeles. That's where Blandon sold to a dealer named Rick Freeway Ross. From there, it exploded into a full-blown national epidemic. This wasn't just a drug problem. It was a wildfire with no one reaching for the hose.
Yep, and now we got opiates.
We have managed to create the world's first truly global empire. And it's the first empire that's been created primarily without the military. It's been created by economic hitmen, by people like what I once was. And we work many different ways, economic hitmen, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. But the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our big corporations.
Keep your eyes open. Is this happening right now with Venezuela? Just saying.
To build infrastructure projects, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few very rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations, but don't help the majority of the people who are too poor to buy electricity, don't have the skills to get jobs in industrial parks, don't own cars to drive on the highways. And yet those very people, the whole country is left holding a huge debt so that it can't pay for education and social services and health care for its people. In fact, the debt is so huge by intent that at some point we economic hitmen go back and we say, listen, you owe us a lot of money. You can't repay your debt, so sell your oil real cheap to our oil companies without regard to the environment. Vote with us on the next critical United Nations vote. Send troops in support of ours to some place in the world like Iraq. And in that way, we've created this empire. On the few times when we economic hitmen fail, as I talk about in the books, as I failed in Ecuador with Jaime Roldos and in Panama with Omar Torrijos, then the jackals go in. And these are men, maybe a few women, who overthrow governments or assassinate their leaders. So if I'm unable to bring them around, if the economic hitman is unable to bring them around through legal means, what we do is we use legal means through the World Bank, but it's basically corrupting the leaders of these countries. If we're unable to corrupt them, then the jackals go in and take care of them. So when I failed with Jaime Roldos in Ecuador and Omar Torrijos in Panama, the jackals assassinated them. And if the jackals fail, which is what happened in Iraq, both the economic hitmen and the jackals failed with Saddam Hussein, then, and only then, does the military go in. So this is the first empire in the history of the world that's been created primarily without the military only as a last resort. And I think there's something extremely dangerous about this. It's not just that it's pathetic, it's not just that it goes against all of our most sacred documents. It's extremely dangerous because we claim to be a democracy. And a democracy is built on the assumption that the electorate is informed. And if the electorate doesn't realize what we're doing internationally, if the electorate doesn't understand the main basis of our foreign policy, which is what I've just described, then the electorate is not informed and therefore cannot vote intelligently. And therefore you even have to question whether we're truly a democracy.
Well, we're not a democracy, are we?
I'm going to talk a little bit about my perspective on Iraq in just a minute. But to really understand it, we first have to understand Saudi Arabia. A lot of you will remember, some of you won't. I'd like to see we get quite a generational mix here. In the early 70s, OPEC didn't like what we were doing in Israel. Same old story. And so they cut off our oil supplies. So some of you will remember these long lines at the gas stations. And we feared we were going to have another depression like the 1929 depression. And so the U.S. Treasury Department came to me and other economic hitmen and said, listen, you know, we can't allow OPEC to blackmail us anymore. You guys got to come up with a plan so this will never happen again. We knew that that plan had to involve Saudi Arabia because it had more oil than anybody else, and it also, the House of Saud, the royal family, was corrupt and corruptible. The long version is explained in the book, but the short version of what we did, the deal we finally struck with the House of Saud, was a deal whereby they would return almost all the money they made from selling oil to the United States, invested in U.S. government securities. The U.S. Treasury Department would use the interest from those securities, which over the years has amounted to trillions of dollars, to hire U.S. companies to westernize Saudi Arabia, build petrochemical complexes, desalinization plants, whole cities out of the desert, McDonald's and all the other things that go along with our Western culture. The House of Saud would also agree to keep the price of oil within limits acceptable to the oil companies, possibly not acceptable to you and me, but acceptable to the oil companies. And this is very, very important. They agreed that they would never, ever sell oil for anything other than U.S. dollars. This happened in the early 70s, right after we'd gone off the gold standard because we were bankrupt, because we could not pay off our debts to European countries in gold. Nixon took us off the gold standard. And then we were stuck with a situation as why will anybody in the world use dollars? So very shortly we came up with this plan, which in essence put the dollar on the oil standard. You cannot buy oil on the world market for anything other than dollars. And that's very important to the corporatocracy.
That's about to change.
Our part of the bargain was we agreed to keep the House of Saud in power, in control. It was an amazing deal, the deal of the century. It was history-making, incredibly powerful deal that we struck with Saudi Arabia. And it's held. It's had some what the CIA calls blowback, unintended consequences. For example, one of the things that really pisses Osama bin Laden off is those McDonald's and those desalinization plants and those petrochemical complexes surrounding Medina and Mecca, the two most sacred sites in Islam. And it pisses off a lot of other Muslims in Indonesia and all over the world. There's been some blowback, but on the whole, the corporatocracy looked at this as an incredible success. I had done my job. We economic hitmen did a great job with that one. So we decided that Saddam Hussein ought to accept something very similar. Now, probably a lot of you know that Saddam has been our boy for a very, very long time. You may remember Abdul Karim Qasim, who was president of Iraq in the early 60s. Qasim came up with a unique concept. He said, Iraqi oil ought to go to benefit the Iraqi people. How novel is that? But we didn't like that very much. He began to tax the oil companies, particularly the British and some American companies, and threatened to nationalize our oil companies. And so we decided that Qasim had to go. The CIA sent an assassination team. It was headed by a man who was still going through high school, an Iraqi citizen who was still going through high school. They riddled Qasim's car with bullets on the streets of Baghdad and missed him. The head of this assassination team was wounded and fled to Syria. His name was Saddam Hussein. He was a CIA agent in those days, an assassin for us. He failed. And so the CIA went directly, and this is all history, I'm not creating this. CIA went in and had Qasim publicly executed on Iraqi television.
Damn. That's a really long video, but if you want to see the rest, go to John Perkins.
Do you believe that this virus was created in a laboratory?
So this is Judy Mikovits. She was a big whistleblower about the vid. and about the vax 2020.
I wouldn't use the word created, but you can't say naturally occurring if it was by way of the laboratory. So it's very clear this virus was manipulated, this family of viruses was manipulated and studied in a laboratory where the animals were taken into the laboratory, and this is what was released, whether deliberate or not. That cannot be naturally occurring. Somebody didn't go to a market, get a bat, the virus didn't jump directly to humans. That's not how it works. That's accelerated viral evolution. If it was a natural occurrence, it would take it up to 800 years to occur. This
Damn.
occurred from SARS-1 within a decade. That's not naturally occurring.
So they've just been lying to us from jump.
There's an antidote. Suramin.
Same girl.
Suramin. This is the most important antidote. It's 100-year-old essential medicine, WHO essential medicine for African sleeping sickness. You can inoculate the tiniest amount of suramin and reverse autism.
Recommended by Dr. Judy Mikovits, PhD. How to make suramin from pine needle tea at home. Step 1. Get fresh edible pine needles. Quantity: enough to fit between your thumb and forefinger. Step 2. After washing the pine needles, chop them up to help release the nutrients. Step 3. Drop the chopped pine needles into a cup of boiled water with a sieve and stir for 30 seconds. If you look close, you should be able to see the nutrients being released into the water. Step 4. Cover the cup and leave it for 10 minutes. Step 5. After 10 minutes, remove the sieve. The pine needle tea is now ready to drink. Drink 2 to 3 times per day minimum.
Pine needle tea has a pleasant taste and smell. It is rich in vitamin C, 5 times the concentration of vitamin C found in lemons, and can bring relief to conditions such as heart disease, varicose veins, skin complaints and fatigue. Pine needle tea also contains high levels of vitamin A, which is good for your eyesight, improves hair and skin regeneration and improves red blood cell production. It can be used as an expectorant for coughs and to help relieve chest congestion. It is also good for sore throats. It can help with depression, obesity, allergies and high blood pressure. Pine needles contain antioxidants. These reduce free radicals, which are harmful to humans and can cause disease. Taoist priests drank pine needle tea as they believed it made them live longer. There is researched evidence that pine needle tea can help slow the aging process.
Something as simple as pine needles. All the remedies we need are all around us.
They use less than a third of the DNA. Did you know that there are immortal genes? Did you know that you have immortal DNAs? Did you know that you have the DNA to grow any part of your body, to change it any way you want to? Did you know you have the DNA of humanity? Did you know that you can turn a predisposition of genetics of blindness into a predisposition of sight? Did you know that you can tap your DNA to not only make you immortal, but reverse your aging? Do your genes have that? Yes, they do. It's what gene fingerprinting is all about in its infantile stages. But it's embarrassing when we really know it. Because the great question is, well, if I have an immortal gene, how come I'm not immortal? You know why? Because you focus only on your emotional means to an end. So your DNA holds what is replicant in you to an experience. You have never gone outside of yourself to create the experience of yourself.
They worshipped a deity called Moloch or Molech. It was a deity that was an aspect of Nimrod, who keeps coming up everywhere, of course. And what they used to do is sacrifice children to Moloch or Molech. They put them through the fire. And in the Old Testament, you see prophets condemning the people for putting their children through the fire to Moloch or Molech. When I've talked to contacts, therapists and what have you around the world who work with satanically abused people, what those people tell them is that, again, when they're sacrificing children, the deity in the modern world today that they use to sacrifice them to is Moloch or Molech. Same seamless stream. So the question comes in relation to this, how do they symbolize Moloch or Molech?
So I put this in here because this is David Icke, and this had to be the 80s or 90s. And when we look now at the Epstein files that have just been released, this is what they're doing.
Deity to which they sacrifice children. They do it, symbolize him as an owl.
Bohemian Grove, Alex Jones.
A lot of this stuff is actually written down. You see, there are two worlds going side by side. There's the world as reported by the mainstream media, where 99% of people get their information from, and that world's about that big. And then there's another world which is vast, where there's enormous amounts of documented evidence about what's really going on, not theories, provable fact, which is not reported by the mainstream media.
But why has this not become, why is it left to you?
No, it's not left to me. No, it's not left to me, Terry. There are thousands of people.
But we haven't heard from them.
Well, why haven't we heard from them?
Because we've only heard from you so far.
Why? You know why?
Why?
Because I have some kind of notoriety, I actually get on here and there to say these things, whereas the vast majority of researchers who are coming up with the same stuff never see a television camera.
But you think people who know the truth are being kept away from the rest of us, and that you're the one who knows the truth?
What is the truth? All we can do is get close. Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, John Bolton, who's now the US ambassador to the United Nations, and you're going to see him giving it that big time in the next few weeks, trying to orchestrate a strike on Iran.
It wasn't that preposterous, was it?
They are a demonic force, basically a demonic consciousness, inverted consciousness. Evil is the absence of love, version. And they operate in a dimension of reality that people call the astral, fourth dimension, if you like, if you call this the third dimension. And, you know, when people look up to heaven, they look up to heaven, don't they? Oh, I'm going to heaven. Well, no, it's not chest of drawers, mate. These dimensions occupy the same space. They're just on different wavelengths, and because the human perceptual reality can see such a narrow band of frequency, we can't see these other dimensions.
Yo, and I gotta say this again. I mean, if you follow me, you know I brought this up a couple times, but when you do DMT or ayahuasca, you see how true this is. The statement he just made, everything is happening all around us right now. We just can't perceive it. But once you do that, you're perceiving it.
We can sometimes feel them, and at the point where this astral dimension meets our dimension in frequency terms, this is where these demonic gods are, alleged gods. This is where you see ghostly entities and the paranormal and stuff like that. It's because, if you think of the old analog radio and television stations, right? You get say a radio station, and it's right on the dial, right? Or not quite on the dial, but it's on the dial enough for that to be the major station. But you can hear another one. Why? Because this other frequency station is close enough to the other station for there to be interference. Now, if you are completely five-sense centric, so your entire reality, that you're absolutely 100% on the frequency dial of this reality, you're not going to see any of this. But if you're not quite on the frequency, or you can expand into other frequencies, you can see ghosts, you can get psychic communications. This is what the so-called paranormal is. It's just tapping into other dimensions of reality. The question is, how expanded is the reality you're tapping into? And so at this cusp is this demonic force, which is described in all these ancient cultures and all these religions. And the ancients were sacrificing to the gods. And these cultists today are doing it. So here's the question. Why? When they said we're making a sacrifice to the gods, we're making an offering to the gods, what do the gods get out of it? What do they get out of it now with these cultists doing it? This is another level of why that happens. Something else we ought to be told from an early age. Every time we feel emotion or think, we are generating frequencies. This is well known by mainstream science.
Across the millennium years is crunch time in this whole agenda, crunch time for the human race. This is the time when this network of interbreeding bloodlines wants to bring in its global fascist structure of a world government to which nation states would be administrative units, of a world central bank and a world currency, a currency that wouldn't be cash, it would be merely electronic, for which there are fundamental implications for human freedom. And also the world army, which is designed to be NATO, expanding and expanding as it is now, of course, to become the fully fledged world army, world police force. And underpinning that little lot is designed to be a microchip population, in which we are microchipped with our financial details, our medical details, etc., etc. And that would allow not only electronic tagging, people knowing where we are all the time, it would allow the external manipulation through this electronic means of our mental and emotional processes. This will happen unless the human race wakes up and wakes up fast. And to do that, we need to understand what's really going on. And to let people know that, we've got to stop beating about the bush, stop pulling punches, stop pussyfooting around, keeping information from people, oh my goodness, how will they react, and just say, this is going on, take it or leave it, make of it what you will, but this is what's going on. In 1986, someone bought an IBM copier at a second-hand sale. And when they got it home, they found inside a very thick document, which obviously shouldn't have been there, called Quiet Weapons, or rather Silent Weapons for a Quiet War. And this described a policy of mass public mind control that has been orchestrated on the people of the world, particularly the Western world, since the 1950s. See if, I'll just read you a little bit of it, see if you recognize the world this document is describing. Experience has proven that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by 1. Disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities, providing a low-quality program of education in mathematics, logic, systems design, and economics, and discouraging technical creativity. 2, engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by A, unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks, brackets, mental and emotional rape, by way of a constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially the TV and the newspapers. B, giving them what they desire, in excess, junk food for thought, and depriving them of what they really need. 3, rewriting history and law and subjecting public opinion to the deviant creation, which I take to mean don't tell them who they really are.
thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. These preclude their interest in and discovery of the silent weapons of social automation technology. The general rule, it says, is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer solutions. Diversion summary. Media. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Does that describe our media today or what? Schools. Keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment. Keep the public entertainment below a 6th grade level. Work. Keep the public busy, 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 with no time to think, back on the farm with the other animals.
This non-human realm was feeding off low vibrational energy. There's a scene in the first Matrix movie where Morpheus holds up a battery and says, the Matrix is a computer-generated dream world designed to turn humans into one of these, a battery. That is a profound statement in an apparently fictional movie.
Well, we saw the kids version in Monsters, Inc. as well.
That was another one. You had the monster world, where the key monster was a green entity with one single massive eye. I mean, that's telling you, isn't it? What happened is that in the monster world, they had no source of energy. And so in the power station, every day, the monster employees would turn up and they stand in line. And then these doors would come, and when they walked through the door, they walked into a child's bedroom. And their job was to terrify the child, so the child screamed. They caught the scream in a tube and went back to the monster world to power the monster world. It was very symbolic of how this works. They are telling you without telling you, if you know.
And what's crazy is, if you think about it, Mike was always there telling Sully what to do, right? Like, go get more energy, like guiding him, coaching him, training him. And Mike is a representation of the Illuminati. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I don't think we've even seen the tip of the iceberg. I think that the potential of what the internet is going to do to society, both good and bad, is unimaginable.
It's just a tool, though, isn't it?
No, it's more than that. For instance, I think in the future we'll be wasting hours and hours of our lives just watching videos of cats and dogs being adorable, and we'll share those videos with our friends, and our friends will respond not with words, but with a row of little circular laughing cartoon faces.
Damn.
And we'll call that progress. And also, we won't be able to watch any of those videos without having to skip an advert first. And that advert will be tailored to your internet viewing habits.
Wow.
Although for some reason it'll always be about some disgusting oatmeal cereal that you'll never buy anyway. And we'll also spend vast portions of our time on websites called social media sites, which we will hate, but we will have 6 different accounts for. And we'll spend most of our time looking for people online to have arguments with. And there will be far-right groups spreading misinformation about immigration on these social media sites, which will then be shared by members of our own family. And this will confirm what we've always suspected, which is that our Auntie Linda is a massive racist. And most importantly, we'll be able to access all of this on our phone. So when we go to bed, we'll take our phone with us. When we...
Our phones in '99 had little green screens. They weren't even able to show a picture. It's crazy he called this.
Go to the toilet, we'll take our phone with us. When we come out of the shower, we'll grab our phone to see if we missed anything. And we won't dry ourselves with a towel anymore. We'll just sit on the edge of our beds, just dripping wet, scrolling on our phones. Just scrolling and scrolling. Because the scrolling never ends. You just keep scrolling. And one day a far-right government will take advantage of the fact that we're just spending all day arguing with strangers on the toilet, and they will seize power whilst we're not looking, and that is when freedom and democracy will become a thing of the past.
Is this a movie?
I imagine.
I think it is.
I'm just guessing.
That's crazy. They like, once again, they put it right in our faces. They had to tell us what they were going to do before they did it. And they did. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the content today. It's a really dope video. We got to see a lot of people who were way ahead of their times, right? Do me a favor and share this video with somebody who may be interested in the content that may not have seen it before. It's important that we share this information and get it out there. We got to build a base, and we really got to come together. And that's what I'm trying to do with this channel. Let's get 1 million subscribers. Let's all come together, and once we hit 1 million subscribers, and come up with the game plan. That's my goal here. I'm JTali. This is JtaliReacts, and we out.
Jtali. I'm manifest. Want it, I see it, I got it, I get it, no question. I'm manifest.